Hi, this is David MacLean and welcome again to Living in the GTA. On this channel, we look at pretty well everything related to real estate in the Greater Toronto Area. Now, if you're new to my channel and you find the content useful, don't forget to like this video and please also hit the subscribe button so that you'll be notified when I upload any new content. Now, if you're thinking about buying a condo in Toronto, then this is the video for you. We're going to look at the top key elements involved, break them down, and help you have a more concise understanding of the process involved. So stick around. Now, one of the first things you should ask yourself if you're thinking about buying a condo is, do you like people? Now that may seem like a funny question, but the reality is, as opposed to living in a house, there's a little less privacy. You're going to see people in the lobby, you're going to see people in the elevator. Now for a lot of people, they've already maybe lived in the city, they're used to sort of a little more noise, being close together, sort of that just the reality of the urban environment. But if you've never experienced that life, maybe you're coming to Toronto from a smaller place, you've always lived in a house, it's just something you should give a little bit of thought to. The most important thing in this, of course, of any kind of purchasing of real estate, you need to get yourself pre-approved. Now, what does that mean? Basically, it means you have to find out, can you afford the down payment and can you afford the monthly mortgage payments? And that includes all your monthly expenses, including condo maintenance fees and your utility fees. You want to make sure that this is comfortable. And in fact, the funding institutions, the banks and so forth, are going to factor this in terms of a margin between what your expenses are already and what you would be able to afford in terms of monthly on a mortgage. Now, I always advise that you actually speak to a mortgage professional as opposed to just going to your bank. Now, the reason is a mortgage broker is someone who, this is what they do. They specialize, and that's their only business. Whereas the bank, you might be dealing with a generalist, and sometimes it's a young person, maybe they've not even worked at the bank that long, and they deal with all aspects from opening accounts to mortgages, but I almost got ran over there, but which is one of the drawbacks of doing a video outdoors. But they may not, in fact, have the key pieces of experience and information, training to really know exactly what your situation is and how to get you the best mortgage product. So I think you should speak to a mortgage broker. Now again, in terms of the financial aspect, it's going to be very important that you have in place already your deposit. Now the deposit is not in addition to your down payment, it is part of the down payment, but there's usually a parameter around the amount. For example, here in the GTA, when you put an offer in, it's pretty much expected. It's not written in stone, but it's pretty much the practice here that you have 5% of the purchase price to put in as a deposit. A lot of people now use these electronic locationless banks. Now, real estate can happen really quickly. All of a sudden, the wheels start turning really fast and you're going to need to have access to those funds. So my advice is to do this in advance. Make sure that you either transfer those funds, that 5% amount that you think you're going to need, and make sure that's available to you, because once your offer is accepted, you will have to submit that in draft form along with your offer. Or usually you'll have maybe at most 24 hours from the time that your offer is accepted to submit those funds. So don't be caught short, because I have had those experiences with clients where it's time for us to put in the deposit and it's like, oh, well, their money's locked in, or for God forbid, it's in an RRSP and you can't get access to those funds for 30 days or something. Let's just say that's not a good scenario. Now, the next thing, I think it's important, I'm looking as I cross the street this time, I think it's important to narrow down what it is you actually want in a condo. What is the neighborhood you want to live in? Toronto is a huge city. Do you want to live in the Distillery District? Do you want to live in Liberty Village, right downtown, the north part of the city? I mean, it's important that you narrow that down before you start looking, so it's not like looking for a needle in a haystack. And then you want to decide what the features are. Do you need 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 1 plus a den? Now, parking can add approximately up to $85,000 on top of the price. Parking is sort of at a premium, and some of the newer buildings, they don't even make parking spaces available for all the units that they build. So it's important to decide, is transit, and in the city, let's face it, transit is great. Maybe you could get around without that parking space, and that's going to make it, of course, a little more affordable. Also, do you want a balcony? Do you want outdoor space, or is that not important to you? What is kind of the layout? Do you want to maybe look at some more older buildings that have sometimes more of a kitchen, whereas a lot of the newer buildings have what they call a European kitchen, which is that kitchen on one wall. The reason it's a little more important to narrow it down is that because we're still in the pandemic, that it's still a little bit more challenging to go and see the units in person. But now with technology, of course, you can Zoom with your agent, you can look at the virtual tours or the virtual walkthroughs that a lot of these listings have. They're going to have great photos. You're going to get a real good sense of what these units look like before you even go out. So you can really narrow down your actually must-see list so that when you go out, you're going to go see 4 or 5 condos, and it's very possible these might be real contenders for you to purchase. And of course, we come to maybe the most important aspect of the whole process, at least in my opinion. Now, why is this so important? An experienced, skilled, knowledgeable agent is going to help you through every stage of the process. Basically, they're going to be a little bit of a hand holder. They're going to answer all your questions. They're going to make the process easier. So, it'd be great if you wanted to work with me, but you might not be even watching this video from Toronto. Maybe you're going to move somewhere sort of outside of the area that I work with, or whoever the agent is that you end up working with. You want to find out a few things. First of all, how long have they been a real estate agent? Now, I've been doing this full-time for 14 years, but I would say don't work with an agent who's only been in the business for a couple of months. Sorry to you newbies, but I just feel that way. So if you're considering working with an agent, schedule a good time to chat, do a phone call or a Zoom conversation, and have a good list of questions. And ask all those questions, because again, there are no silly questions in real estate. See how you feel about the answers. And also just, get a gut feeling. Do you like this person? Do they have a good personality? Does this seem like a good fit of someone that you would like to work with? Now, in addition to your real estate agent and a mortgage professional, you will also need a lawyer, a real estate lawyer. They are the ones that assist and do the actual closing in terms of registering the documents and transferring title and so forth. This is necessary. You don't have to work with the lawyer that your agent necessarily works with, but they're going to have some suggestions. Now, one of the key pieces in the process that the real estate lawyer does for condos is they review something called the status certificate. Basically, what these documents are, the status certificate, they're like all the rules and regulations, the administrative paperwork, all the minutiae in terms of the functioning of that specific condo corporation. And it's really apples and oranges. One condo on the other side of the street, they're going to have completely different rules and regulations and so forth. So this is something for you also before making the final decision, which is signing off that condition of review of the status certificate, that you understand the rules and regulations. Now, these are going to be things like how many pets are you going to be able to allow in your unit? What is the weight of them? Are you allowed to just have one cat or a dog? Or, donkeys usually aren't allowed, but if this is your thing, it's important to know that before you sign off. Are you going to be able to barbecue on your balcony? Maybe you consider yourself quite a barbecue artist, but you're not going to be able to do this on your balcony. So there's going to be a bunch of things in there that you want to review prior to signing off. Now, in terms of the budget itself, every condo corporation is required to have a certain amount of reserve funds. This is sort of like the savings account, if you will, for that condo corporation. And these are rules set down by the government. So it's important to make sure that your lawyer reviews that and says, there's a deficit, or you're absolutely fine in terms of the amount of funds that are in the reserve fund. So these are things that may not initially come to your mind. I mean, if you've never done this process before, why would they? So that's what a good lawyer is. They're going to go through all of that. They're going to look and see if there's any red flags. A red flag, for example, would be that maybe there is a lien against the condo, which doesn't happen too often, but it's possible. Say they owe money for some work that was done, say to fix the garage or to fix the roof, and those funds were never paid off. It's important to know these things, that there isn't any legal action that is being dealt with by the condo corporation, so that when you sign off, you have peace of mind. That's what a good lawyer is going to do. Another factor that you might want to consider is rentals. For example, say a part of your plan, maybe you are an investor and this is an investment only condo that you want to rent out, and you're thinking, great, I can Airbnb this unit. Well, not so fast. There are a lot of rules around rentals. For example, a lot of the newer buildings have written right into their rules and regulations, right from the time that they were built, that the minimum period for rentals is 6 months. And they're very strict about this. They often monitor this. They make sure on social media and Airbnb sites that your unit or any units in those buildings are not listed. These aren't small details if you have that as part of your plan, that you're thinking of maybe short-term rentals. Now, longer-term rentals, minimum of a year, of course, that's usually not a problem. But if, it's important to know what is and isn't allowed. Now, when you go look at the unit, at the building, you might want to ask your agent, is it possible, and it should be, for you to go and take a look at the parking space if that's included, and also the locker. Now, specifically for the parking, depending on the size of your car, you just want to make sure that your car is going to fit in that space and it's in a part of the parking complex that you're comfortable with, that you like. Now, this may not seem to be a big detail, but it's something that once you've signed off and all is done and you own the unit, and then it's like, let's go take a look at the parking. It's a little too late to make some changes or alterations at that point. Now, when you find the unit that you want and it's time to put in the offer, that can seem a little scary, a little intimidating, but again, the agent's going to be there to guide you through the process. Now, what we're seeing a little bit in the Toronto market is that certainly we know that freehold has just been insane and there's been nothing but voracious bidding wars non-stop. This is actually also starting to happen in the condo sector, unfortunately, but we are seeing bidding wars. So what does that mean? It means that if this is a condo that you really love, I always say don't get blinded by property. And what I mean by that is there's always another house, always another condo, always another place to live out there, and you'll find it. So you have to be aware, what is your spending limit? What's your nosebleed? Because people can get kind of, into a bidding war situation. It can get very emotional, and they can maybe end up bidding a little higher than they really wanted to. And then the next day, that classic buyer's remorse. So have a firm line in the sand of what you are going to, bid and what where you're going to stop. The other thing too is that there are a lot of condos out there. There are thousands of units and more coming on the market now that we're in the prime spring period. There's a tip I want to give you, a little tip. What can happen is sometimes, and we're seeing this almost with all the condos coming on right now, they are putting an offer date. That's a specific date after it's been listed, usually in about 5 days to a week, that they're going to take and look at offers. Now, it's sometimes good to wait in the wings, and if they don't get offers, then you can kind of swoop in and put an offer in, be prepared to put an offer in right away. That is one strategy. Another tip is to put in what they call a preemptive offer, or what's known in colloquial terms a bully offer, which is, in terms of language, it's like, bully, I'm going to barge right in and put my offer in, bully. But it sometimes it works. Now, even for instance on the listing, they might say no preemptive offers, no bully offers. We won't look at that. If an agent brings an offer, the agent representing the seller is obligated to bring that offer to their client. Now, the client can say, no, not going to look at it, but you just never know. The agent might look at that offer and go, wow, that's a pretty good offer, and bring it to their client, and you might be successful in getting that unit prior to the actual offer date. So that's pretty well it for our key points of how to buy a condo in Toronto. I hope that content was useful, and again, please like this video or subscribe if you want to be notified the next time I upload a video to my channel. And again, please don't hesitate to contact me. There are no silly questions in real estate, and I'm always happy to take the time to chat with you, and you can always pick my brain about what's going on in the Toronto real estate market. Until next time, take care of yourself.